and the women that are in my life now know there's no choice between me and them. You know, if a girl was on my house at my house once on like a 4th date or 5th date, and she said, "I don't like your brother." I said, "That's a very strange thing to say. Why would you say that?" "I don't know. He seems rude. I just don't like him. I've watched him on the internet. I don't like your brother." I said, "Well, that's unfortunate because this house is half my brother's house, and he didn't pay millions of dollars for this house for people who don't like him to sit in it. So you got to go." "Oh, but it's your house too. So get the fuck out." Like I will prioritize my friendship and my.
Because I have a daughter who I love with all my heart, and I can't imagine how angry I'd be if she was the victim of any crime, any sexual assault, any crime. I feel I'm going to tell my daughter, if you're ever hurt, if you're ever attacked, if anything bad ever happens to you, go to the police and go to the hospital straight away. Because I feel like there should be some evidence other than someone's word.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That no one is ever going to give a shit about you, even 1% as much as you have to give a shit about yourself. No one cares. No one cares about you if you're a man, ever. Everything is conditional. You don't get loved unconditionally. And that's a beautiful thing because that makes you strive to create your own value as a man. Number one thing I hate about cigars is when young people, fat, chubby young people, out of shape young people, put a cigar in their mouth and tag me on some Instagram story. Say, "Look, I'm Tristan Tate." The cigar doesn't make me me, you know? Because I smoke and because I drink, you have to super pay for it. Because most people who like to party and drink as often as I do look fucking horrible.
It's very easy to get mad at adolescents for saying Andrew Tate's name. Let's talk about other things wrong with the series. One, overwhelmingly, in fact, there's not a single case, I believe, of a white English boy of 13 ever stabbing a girl. So they say based on true story, but that's not a true story. I feel like to even call someone an involuntarily celibate male when he's 13 is a sexualization of children. So the producer of the show needs to have his hard drive checked. The things wrong with this series is a lot longer than blaming Andrew Tate.
Story, because I imagine everything that he went through, you were going through as well, because you two have been so tight.
Yeah, the only difference is, I guess it may have been slightly harder for him because he was the older brother. He didn't have an older brother to look up to. I did. But in the same way, you know, with advice, with things in life, I've always had his back, especially since we've been adults. But as young kids, you know, I always had that older brother to look up to.
Have you ever been brutally rejected by a woman?
No, because there's no such thing as brutal rejection. Lots of women like me, lots of women don't. I've never been brutally rejected because I've never tried that hard. You know, when I first started getting famous, back when I still had Instagram and I was platformed, Instagram DMs would get leaked. And as I said, they've been through my hard drives. I've never said anything stupid. You know, I said to girls, "Hey, where you from? You know, want to go out sometime?" No, never in a million years. And I literally just say, "Okay, no problem," smiley face. And then 2 years later, when I was getting famous, they'd post it. "Ha ha ha, Tristan tried to sleep with me." I'm like, yeah, but I also sent that message to 500 other girls and 400 did sleep with me. So like, I don't really care. So they come to Dubai with their friends. They have no money in their pockets. They have a nice shirt that they'll wear, fine. And they'll take a taxi from their really cheap hotel down to downtown, picture in front of the Burj Khalifa, click, picture in front of a Lamborghini, click. Now they're a guy with a picture in front of a Lamborghini in Dubai. They're a guy who hangs out in Dubai now. He's at the Burj Khalifa. He makes less than $1,000 a month.